Good evening. John Alford with a quick mini money class. It's going to be on living benefits. You probably see and hear me post a lot of stuff on living benefits, especially during January, Living Benefits Awareness Month. We're now in April, and it's time for everybody to take a good look at living benefits. So I'm going to show you what living benefits are and what they can do for you. So as we go through life, we want to make sure our income stays above our expenses, don't we? Sometimes there's a big gap there, sometimes there's a small gap there, but we want to make sure that there's some space there. But then something bad happens, and I'm talking about those medical emergencies. The big three are heart attack, stroke, and cancer, but it could also include something like a bad accident, a critical injury, or even Alzheimer or dementia. What happens is our income goes down when that happens. We can't work, somebody from the family maybe can't work to help provide care for us, and at the same time expenses go up. And you might be saying, but everybody has health insurance, and you're right. But what does health insurance not pay? Well, it doesn't pay for all the doctors because there's deductibles, your prescriptions, your co-pays. It doesn't pay your mortgage. It doesn't pay to put food on the table. And what happens here is massive debt occurs. People reach into their retirement accounts, their savings, the equity in their house. They call mom and dad, help, help. They, sell their house, move in with mom and dad. That's why so many parents are moving to Florida. And so many of us are moving to Arizona. No basement for people to move into. Trying to be a little funny about a serious topic. But right here, really bad things happen. 63% of bankruptcies in America are caused by medical emergencies, even with mandated health insurance. But the companies we work with realized, let's make it where people could access a large pile of money, turn that money on either in lump sum or income, and keep that income line above that expenses line, saving them and letting them focus on recovering and not their finances at the same time they're worried about their medical. These pay out a number of ways. The first way is if you have a terminal illness. If you have this big pile of money, and let me tell you where it comes from. It actually comes from life insurance. You may not realize that because not all life insurance has living benefits. Two companies we work with pioneered living benefits about 15 years ago. And instead of your life insurance actually being better named death insurance, it's now life insurance. So you can reach in and access that life insurance. Let's say you have $500,000 of life insurance. It can be any kind. It can be term life insurance. That $500,000, if you have a terminal illness, that's when you go to the doctor and they say, we're sorry, John, you only have 2 years to live. I could access up to 90% of that $500,000 and get a $450,000 check to me that we could use. I could get experimental treatment. I could pay off the house, set up trust funds for my kids. I could take a trip around the world, and then at the end of that trip, maybe the terminal illness takes me, but I've had that experience with my family. It's my money to use the way we want to. The second case is if you have a critical illness or injury, and that's something that affects your life but doesn't necessarily kill you. The big ones here are a diagnosis of cancer that's not terminal, a heart attack, a stroke, and instead of having to hurry back to work, you can recover from that stroke, get the occupational and physical therapy that you need, and resume your life. In this case, you can access up to 75% of that money, and that'd be up to $375,000. You could access less than that if you needed, say, a year's pay. You could access that amount and leave the rest in your life insurance plan. The last type is a chronic illness. This is a lot like long-term care. Say something happened and you can't do 2 of the 6 functions of daily living. Those are things like feeding yourself, bathing yourself, toileting by yourself, transferring around your house by yourself. Those things that we take for granted as independent adults. The other thing is if you go a little cuckoo in the head and now you need in-home care or something like that to watch after you. In this case, it's 2%. You're probably thinking, well, John, wait a minute, 90%, 75%, 2% doesn't sound that great. Oh, but in this case, it's 2% for 50 months. So basically, in this case, it would be $10,000. And I'll tell you what, if you need full-time care, here in California, $10,000 is about what quality care starts at. Maybe a little bit less. But you know what, say if you need this 5 years from now, well, that $10,000 will keep you from pulling $10,000 out of your retirement plan or out of the equity in your house. Instead, you use true living benefits life insurance. Quick lesson, and I want to tell you just one. Oh, but there's two other things that happen. You can take that money out also because it is life insurance. If you die, then you get the $500,000 if you haven't had to use any of the living benefits. It's still life insurance, but what our companies have realized is we're 7 or 8 times more likely to have a terminal event, a critical event, or a chronic health event before we pass away. And think about it yourself. You probably know someone who in the last year or two has had a heart attack or a stroke or a diagnosis of cancer before they passed on. Or maybe they recovered, which is awesome, right? But it does pay. And because it's life insurance, all these benefits come out tax-free. So if you get that $450,000, it all comes directly to you and you don't have to give Uncle Sam any of it. I want to tell you one story about how living benefits worked for some friends of mine with our company. They live up in Colorado, and a few years ago they decided to reach out to some of their friends from high school that they haven't talked with in a while, catch up with them and invite them to come to Money 101 or an event our ladies do called Wine, Women, and Wealth. Well, the lady went to a Wine, Women, and Wealth, caught up with her friend. Her friend who works with us is named Kristen. The husband and wife came together to Money 101 a few weeks later, and the wife said, you know, honey, we really need those living benefits. And he said, you know, hey, we're in our mid-30s. We have 3 kids. I'm in great health. I run triathlons. Unfortunately, she was recovering from breast cancer, but she was on the mend. She was clear. And he said, we really don't need it right now. But she said, honey, I really would feel better if at least you had living benefits. And then when I am eligible for them, I'll get them for me. And, you know, guys, sometimes we do what our wives ask, even sometimes because we know it is actually a good idea. He got living benefits. He actually got $1 million plan, paid into it for about a year and a half. And then one weekend, he started having seizures. And from Saturday to Sunday afternoon, he had something like 16 seizures back to back to back. No warning they were coming, no history of anything like epilepsy. Well, they ran him to the emergency room, and unfortunately, they found a cancer called glioblastoma multiforme, or GBM. I know a lot about it. My best friend passed away from it as well. Well, this gentleman had GBM cancer. They took out a tumor, and they started his aggressive treatment. But they also wanted to pursue holistic treatments that weren't covered by their health care. He wanted to set things up for his family. They reached out to Ed and Kristen, our business partners there in Denver, and they were able to accelerate $824,000 of his $1 million policy. He was able to pay off their house, set up trust funds for the kids' college, and pursue the best care possible medically and holistically because they had that money and it didn't destroy their financial future. So that's one great use of living benefits. I could tell these kind of stories all night long. If you reach out to me, I can share some testimonial videos that friends of mine here in Southern California have helped their friends out with living benefits as well. Hope this has helped you out. If you'd like to come to one of our Money 101s, we have them both live and in person here in San Diego and many other cities around the country. I can share with you a link to a Zoom class that we do once a week. The next one is next Wednesday night. Or I could also share a streaming link with you. Actually, the couple that I mentioned in that story, Kristen and Ed, are one of the speakers on one of our streaming Money 101s. It's a powerful story, what they're able to do for that family. Thank you and have a great night.